Welcome, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I know you're all here for another amazing episode of What? Security Happy Hour. That's right. And so, as you can notice, a little change of scenery. Things are a little messed up. My normal studio decided to go on the fritz this evening. So we get what we get, and we just run with it. But otherwise, we're going to be talking about community, a lot of big things to talk about today. And if you want to jump in the conversation, feel free to leave us comments, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. And I promise we'll be right back here in about 10 seconds. And we're back. And as you can see, I have this same lineup as last week because my guest that I was supposed to have on, where we were going to talk about deep fakes, well, he had to reschedule earlier today, and I was busy all day and didn't have the time to find another guest. So we're running with it, and we're going to have a good time. Pat, Devin, how you doing this evening?
Good, man. Cool.
Good. It was a long week. Well, last few days was a little busy for me. I did the PMPT from TCM Security and passed today, so I'm super stoked about that. And that will go on with the community, building a community, because without the community that we have, I wouldn't have gotten my PMPT, but more to come.
Yeah, definitely. Devin, how you doing, man? What you had going on this week?
I had a short week. It was nice. Only worked Monday through Wednesday. Lots of pen test remediation stuff at work, but that was it for the first 3 days. And then, yesterday I just hung out with the family, smoked food all day, got miserably full last night, and then just ate leftovers again right before this stream. So I'm miserably full again. I just loaded up a whole plate. It's like I see everything, all the stuff we cooked, and I'm like, I want a little bit of that. I want a little bit of this. And then next thing you know, I got a mound. Looks like something Garfield would have eaten.
Yeah, you gotta love when your eyes are bigger than your stomach, but you still finish it anyway. So you're like,
Absolutely.
I really shouldn't take this last bite, but I'm going to.
Absolutely.
So, again, to Pat's point, right? And I know how important community is, especially when you're looking at certifications, because I know, the Discord groups for things like PNPT, OSCP, all these other certifications out there are vital. They help us really kind of realign our thoughts. And sometimes they lead us in a direction we didn't think of. Mm-hmm. So Pat, starting with you with the PNPT that you just passed, like, what did the community mean to you there? How did it help you?
Yeah, so I'm going to be 100% honest. Like, the community and I'm very blunt, everyone knows that. I think that's why I'm pretty recognized for that, right? I don't have a filter. So I think with the whole community was good, and it was misleading as well, to be honest. Like with the PMPT, even when I did my PJPT, I'm very honest with people. They say, oh, what do you need for this certification? And I want to give you or tell you what you need. I'm not going to give you the answers. Absolutely not. But right. I'm not going to say for the PJPT, for an example, then we'll get into the PMPT. You don't need to do the whole PEH course from TCM. You just need to do the Active Directory section, and that's good enough to pass your PJPT. Now go to the PNPT. I'm going to be honest, I didn't complete all 5 courses. I didn't. And all I did was I took all the notes I had from my PJPT and did the extra, not even. And I want to make a review video, and I want to showcase what I never completed one course. So you don't really need to complete these courses in order for you to pass these exams.
Well, do you think that's more so a testament of because you've been in the field for a while, or because of legitimately just what they test on?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think a little bit of both, right? I think a little bit of both. If you are green, you're not going to pass the PMPT, even if you did all of them. That's just me. But I think like if you have done maybe a couple of pen tests or maybe some CTFs, so understand the methodology, because every technology will change, right? If I'm pen testing something today, maybe tomorrow, a new version, and then we have to learn how to bypass or invade that or whatever the case may be. But for the PMPT, I think that from the community's perspective, it was the study group that I was a part of. And the only reason why I got a part of a study group is because I really wanted to do this before I had Heath Adams on my channel. And I wanted to just brainstorm. And I found a group that was doing the certification as well. I'm like, all right, let's just brainstorm. I can give you what I'm really good at. You can give me what you're really good at. And we can share each other's notes with Obsidian or Notion or whatever you're going to use. And then we can feed off each other. And we all did the exam. Right. So that was it. So from the community's perspective, I think it's really important to get folks that are supportive. But yeah.
You know, as someone who was in an OSCP study group, when I took that, it was, I think at the same time, you still have to find the right people that are trying to learn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference when you're in those groups of people that want to learn and people that want to just be given the answers because they want to basically become paper certified.
Mm-hmm.
Know what they're doing, but they're paper certified.
Yeah,
I've seen this in a few different like boot camps and study groups that I've been in, but the OSCP was definitely huge for it because people would reach out and ask for, and this was only on the labs. Again, we don't, and I never will give away anything from an exam. But like on the labs, as we were going through, you know, you'd have something like cracking Windows passwords or something like that, which you get on just about any pen tester,
yep.
You know, lab and test and things.
Yep.
And so I had told the, you know, we were talking. I said, yeah, I said, get in and you know, once you're in, he's like, oh, I am in. I'm like, all right, cool. Crack the Windows password and you should be good to go.
Yep.
Knowing. I know I'm not giving him the answer because I already know he doesn't know what files to get for the fact that he's asking me what to do.
Yeah.
Directory. and so he's like, well, how do I do that? Google.
Yep.
Well, what do I need? There's files you need in a program you need to use. Google.
Yep. And I think that's the difference. That's a difference with like OSCP, especially PMPT, right? There's really no way to, in my opinion, there's no real way now taking it and the whole from soup to nuts. Maybe there is ways to cheat. I don't know. But in my opinion, like it's going to be harder to get like paper certified with this one because you actually have to do it, right? It's not like going to say, okay, this answer is this, and you just mark an answer down. No, you have to get to that answer. Like you were saying about Windows passwords, right? If we're dumping ntds.dit files, if we're dumping NTLM files, or whatever we're dumping, we have to take that file. We have to make a screenshot of our Linux box. Like in mine, I had my Figlet InfoSec Pat on one of my things. So every screenshot said InfoSec Pat, so they knew it was my
right.
Yep. So it's not like I can take a screenshot. I'm like, oh, Derek, send me that screenshot so I have it. No, that was from my machine. I just did that to, you know, CYA or CMA, cover my ass. So,
right.
So yeah, I think, and then going through that and then writing the report, and then you have to debrief, which was really cool because I think that's what differentiates this certification from a lot of them. Like I want to do CRTP, which is Certified Red Team Professional, and CRTO and some others. But from my understanding, there's no, you just do a report, you submit a report, and then that's it. But I think the debrief really stands out.
Yeah, I agree. Devin, what's your thoughts? I mean, I know you're not kind of in the certification realm, but from, you know, talking to me and Pat and just what you've seen around the community, how do you feel about all that?
No, I think for the most part, I mean, there's a lot of good. I guess there's both sides of it. There's a lot of good in the community, and there's a lot of bad. You're going to have that no matter what the community is. The main thing is just to try to keep yourself on the good side. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I mean, align yourself with people that are doing good for the community that aren't, you know, I guess I should say like selfish or, you know, hateful, angry, just those type of people. There's just certain people that put off that vibe, you know, like they want to put out their information is the only information. But then again, when you reach out to them for additional assistance, they don't want to help. I guess I should say be open. But then there's also that side of thing. Don't be that person in the community that says, hey, hack my girlfriend's Instagram. Because I know probably both of you guys get that type of stuff all the time. And you're not going to get a response that way. build a relationship inside the community before you start asking for favors. Be like, hey, be in there interacting like Misha is all the time, and Space Tacos and all these people here. They're constantly interacting, constantly supporting the community here. If you're that type of person and they ask you a question, Eric's going to be 10 times more likely to answer it from that person that just jumps in here and is like, how do I become X, Y, and Z, or how do I, hack my girlfriend's Facebook, all that stuff. Obviously, here we answer more questions, but I know Pat was talking about it the other day on his stream. You get wildly out in left field on some of this stuff that they just jump in there for, and it's just nonsense. But for the most part, the community's been great. Just as much as you take from the community, provide to the community, and you'll get 10 times more out of it. That's kind of my opinion there.
Yeah, and when I look at it, it very much is about giving back, right? And Misha knows this. Space Tacos knows this. James is finally back in the house. How you doing, James? When we look at these communities, it's everybody has some type of information, something they can give back, regardless of where they're at in their career, their transition, whatever. It could be study resources. It could be podcasts to listen to. It could be whatever. There's always knowledge. There's always something to be gained from other people. And you know more than what you think you know. Mm-hmm. So just be confident in what you do know. And that's a good one. Really, when we look at our community, you have two types of people. Well, three, I'll say. You have, and the third type is very rare to find. They exist, i.e. we're here, and there's there's others that we talk to that know it, but we still tend to fall in that first category as well. The first category is those that know things, think they know nothing, and refuse to speak up at all. And they become followers. They never take charge. They never give out any information. They never help others because they feel like they have nothing to give back. And I think in all regard, we've all fallen into that category once or twice in our lives, if not still to this day. There are certain topics that I'm like, I know the bare minimum of, so I won't speak on it. Mm-hmm. And yet that bare minimum may be what this other person needs to hear. But I'm like, not my lane. I ain't going to say nothing. You have the other end that, to your point, Devin, extremely selfish, overconfident, right? There's a difference between confidence and an arrogant prick. And a lot of them end up in that arrogant prick category where they think they have all the right answers. They're the only ones that know the right answers, but they will never help you to find the right answers. Yep. And that's problematic. And they gatekeep the shit out of everybody. And then and again, the third category is people like anyone who's been on this show, anyone that has their own podcast, their own content that they deliver, especially the ones that do it for free, that are just trying to give back and give back regularly. Because of the circles we tend to fall into, we think it's common. But the more you look at the industry, I think what we do and the people we interact with is less common than those other two extremes. I think the two extremes actually make up the majority.
Absolutely. I agree.
And I think to piggyback off your point there of like people feeling like they don't know enough to engage and give their opinion and give their advice, the way you got to think about it is there's always someone that's a day behind you. Where you came from yesterday, there's someone that's just starting there that you can help, that can take your little bit of advice that just maybe what you think is something small and minuscule, but it's going to help that person leaps and bounds because they've been stuck on it, for days. So never think that you don't have any information or any, you're not useful in some way to somebody's path or journey.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we think about community and finding the right people, I find we still, in finding the right people, still end up in echo chambers, which can be difficult because you find one person that thinks like you do, that agrees with what you say. So you're like, oh, that's got to be the right way to go. But then you're in an echo chamber and you never hear something different. And the ones that provide it differently tend to come across a little malicious sometimes when that's not what they're trying to do. That's not the intent. But when someone challenges you, you get defensive because you don't want to be wrong. And I think when it comes to developing a true community, you have to be able to be willing to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. I can, speak on that. Like, I don't know it all. I'm far from the smartest person in the room, but I know how to find answers. And maybe I don't give myself enough credit, I think, sometimes, but I just do what I do. And I think that's super important. Like try to learn something new every day. Just that little, like you said, D, like little molecule that you'll learn today will be so beneficial. Like, for an example, I'm not a malware analysis. I don't do malware analysis as my day job. And it's just something I enjoy because talking to Jacob, talking to John Hammond, talking to these folks that do RE and all this stuff. I'm like, man, it looks so interesting, but how does it really work? I don't know. So that's when I started making videos and trying to, okay, I want to learn it. And then I feel like if you really know it or you know something about it, when you teach it or you demonstrate it, that reinforces what you've learned in that period, right? So that's why when I did my malware, built my lab and playing with malware, and I'm doing more stuff with it behind the scenes. And it's like super interesting, right? And like when you get that malicious from the SOC, or from a user that you want to, oh, I have this thing that says, like on my video, like enable content, right? And when you click on enable content, what is that macro actually doing? You're going to run it through Total Virus or Virus Total. You're going to run it through your sandbox, your any debt or any run or Joe Sandbox or whatever. And then it's just like, oh, it's malicious. But what is it doing? What is it doing? So that's where it's like, okay, now let's break out Rumnix. Let's actually dissect it. Let's look into the, and that's when I was like, I showcased like the PowerShell. Now we get a base64 encrypted hash. And then when we put that in CyberChef and we really break it down, like, oh, fuck, these things are going to some whacked out sites. So now they're connected to a C2, but you're never going to see that through any run or fucking Virus Total or whatever. Total. So manually analyzing it. And right now I'm doing static and dynamic analysis on pretty much that same file. And I compiled into an executable. So now I can run that in PE Studio and some other stuff behind the scenes. But now it's like, it's fun, right? Like, it's like, okay, now I can fuck around with things and send it to my uncle or send it to someone that mess around with them, right? And but I'm not going to, maybe I'll shut up now. But yeah, so like it's always fun to learn stuff and just really know what's working. So I don't know how we got off that on.
You were the friend that always sent punters to people when AOL was around and would kick them off freaking America Online. That was you. Being a dial up in the middle of freaking trying to do something, and all of a sudden my connection's gone because my buddy decided to kick me off the internet.
And that was the worst because then you're trying to connect back to a 56K modem, which probably most people that are watching this don't have any idea what that is. So you got to sit there for 35 minutes and wait for it to connect and go through all the sounds and all that stuff. Or you got to go get a new CD from your neighbor's mailbox.
Machine. You'll know what a 56K sounds like.
Yeah.
But no, I do. I think that when we look at kind of the way around everything, right? Even reverse engineering, right? You talk about that. Is like I said, you can learn from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I got schooled on assembly by a 17-year-old.
Uh-huh.
And this is where you have to be willing to challenge what you think. Some people will look at age as a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's not. Because if that 17-year-old already knows more than you, he doesn't have to interact with you. He can just show you up and walk away. Or she.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, if you open up your mind to talk with other people and discuss things, you'll find out that the people that have been around forever, sometimes they got so stuck in their tribal knowledge that they never learned outside the box. So yeah, you want to know about that network or that system that they're working on all day. They got you. No one will know more about that infrastructure than they do. but you want to learn something new.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to go younger. You got to think outside the box, whether it be a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old. I mean, we had Ryan on the show, not that long ago, actually. I think it has been a while since he's been on. But Ryan, who's still, he's been hacking cars and other things since he was, 15 years old. Like, you can learn from everybody. You just got to be willing to listen.
Yeah.
And as a community, I think we need to do more of that. Listen to understand, not just to respond.
Yeah.
Too many times we want to get defensive and just respond and act like we know everything, and we don't.
Yeah, I definitely don't. But yeah.
Hey, look, I'm not perfect. I mean, I'm damn close. It gets scary sometimes, but I'm definitely not perfect. And I mean, even better is when I tell my wife, nobody's perfect. And I say, hi, I'm nobody.
That's a good one.
But no, I think community is so vital to what we do. When you look at 0 days, when you look at the CVEs, when you look at all the stuff that we do within our industry, without the community, we wouldn't have this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Without the security researchers that find those 0 days, that do proper disclosure, right? That follow the regulations and things like that, we would not have what we have today. And all that took the community. It took, people that knew lawyers, people that know, X, Y, and Z, newspapers, things like that. And I think this is the other part of community that I want to touch on. Don't just look at cybersecurity as your community.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get better, you got to be able to talk to everybody and integrate and network with everybody, because maybe you do want to be a security researcher. Those lawyers are vital. They really are. You want to find the best one, might want to start networking, homie. Figure out who the best security research lawyers out there are.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need them. Because companies still to this day don't follow. They still are hesitant to follow responsible disclosure because they don't want a bad name, because all of a sudden they found out they had a weak link, and more than likely they're breached, but they don't want to let the public know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, look at the New York Times. They did that shit for years. It's what got some other hackers in trouble when they said, we're unhackable. No, you're not.
Yeah, I don't think no one is.
I mean, look, it goes both ways too on the community side. Like you said, where we are today is because of our community. But that's also the adversary side. They have a hell of a community out there on the dark web too. I mean, look where it gets them. I mean, it works both ways. If we don't have something that's going to combat that, then we're going to get left in the dark.
And here's the thing, right? So we talk a lot, and there's a lot of talk within our industry about how you can validate somebody's knowledge, how you can validate what they do. And degrees, certifications, things like that come up frequently. And yeah, because you need a basis of why you're going to hire someone. There's a flip side to that. Podcasts, YouTube channels, LinkedIn, comments, let people know about you. So I think that although certifications and degrees are valid, if you're someone that doesn't test well, or you're really not cut out for school for one reason or another, maybe you just know you're going to fail your classes and never get your degree. It's going to be a waste of money. Or maybe you're one of those people that's like, I don't want to take philosophy when I'm going for cybersecurity. It makes no sense to me. Whatever your reasoning is, I'm not going to judge you on that. But you have to give people a way that they can validate you know what you know. Mm-hmm. If you don't do that, then I've got to take you at your word, which means now I'm going to take a job away from someone who I know knows their shit for someone who I'm going to take a bet on, right? It's going to be a gamble. Yep. And I've been burned too many times. I don't like to gamble. Mm-hmm. Especially not when it comes to I need people that can secure networks and run SIMs and EDRs and things like that. I don't like to gamble. I got networks to secure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And going back to that, like having that community, having those folks out there that can validate that, not just by a piece of paper or a resume, like showcasing, okay, what is a SIM? Have you ever built a SIM? Have you ever ingested data into a SIM? You know, like what is a query? You know what I mean? What is an Yara rule, right? Like what is it? You know, all these things that, you know, I would like to talk more about on my channel, but you know, there's some things I just don't like to disclose. But yeah, I just love like, you know, and with the community, you know, not only front facing, you know, like public facing, you can also have your private communities as well and showcase your talent. And I do that. Like I do have my private communities, and same thing with the malware stuff that I'm doing. Look, no one knew when I was going to take the PMPT. Like I didn't announce that. Like people probably knew that I was going to take it, but not when. You know, and now it's announced because I wanted to, you know, a goal of mine was to do it before. First, it was before DEF CON, before I knew Heath was going to come on the channel. And I'm like, fuck. Now, like Heath, I wanted to do it prior to him coming on so it can be something that we can convey about as well. And just like show my appreciation for the exam and all his hard work that went into it. So we can, you know, talk about that. And, so yeah, having a good community, private and publicly, is definitely key for success for your career and just for your, you know, building up your knowledge, right?
Yeah, and I think that goes for multiple reasons, right? I think our private communities tend to more align with more than just your cybersecurity knowledge. I think in those private communities tend to align more with beliefs outside of cybersecurity as well. So, because everybody has a public persona that's in social media. I try to be myself at all times.
Yeah, me too.
and everybody knows how I think and who I am. There are certain things I won't talk about.
Yep.
But you're lucky if I talk about it in private either. There's just things I keep close to the chest. And otherwise, though, like if I support you wholeheartedly. Nothing you do is going to make me stop supporting you. I still do that to this day. There's people that have done me wrong, but they put out some good shit. And I'm like, I'm still going to support you. I'm still going to share everything you do because I can't deny what you're doing. Like, knowledge is knowledge. And the more we can give to this community, the more knowledge we can provide to this community, the better. And now I get when it comes to certain stances, people want to burn them, right? In every sense of the word. And I understand from an emotional and personal aspect why. But I also think from a professional standpoint, you got to look at things and be like, is that going to be a hit to the community that you can afford?
Yep.
Can you afford to lose somebody in the community that is bringing 0 days to the table, that is bringing SIM knowledge to the table, that is doing whatever that you don't know? Or it's just like firing employees. Are you adding now to the workload of everybody else? Now, if they're lying about their 0 days, if like all this shit's fake, then that's one thing. But if it's personal stuff that you're trying to, that's where I get a little hesitant. I'm like, look, difference of opinions, difference of beliefs, go for it. I got a different belief than probably most people out there. I don't care. Doesn't stop me from supporting them and loving them and wanting them to do the best they can do. And you know, hoping people like Misha and Space Tacos and, you know, everybody else out there can succeed. And if I can help in any way, I try to. Hell, I wish I had junior roles open. Then I can hire some of these people. Fortunately, I'm not allowed to hire any juniors right now. But once that happens, I'll make it happen. It's just, you got to take what you can get. And I think we're too quick to burn people based off emotion. And I think that's going to hurt the community more than help it. I really do.
Yeah.
Pat, we talked about it. There's people that emotionally I felt stung, but knowledge-wise, can't take nothing away from them. I'm gonna keep promoting the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So going off of what you just said about the juniors, you hire people, blah blah blah. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on like knowing? So say for example, I'll use me. You know, this is not legit, but I'm just going to use me because I don't like to put out. I'm in the market for a job, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to apply for places. Me personally, if I'm going to apply for somewhere, like I'm not going to spray and pray my resume.
Right.
That's not me. But like, how important you think it is to network with folks and to apply to places where you know someone versus like just like, okay, for an example, I know someone that works at McDonald's. I think working with, with Brian at McDonald's is going to be really, really good. But I really want to work at Burger King, but I don't know fucking anyone at Burger King, right? Because I like their fries better, whatever. So what is the take or what is your thoughts like, oh, all right, I'm just going to spray Burger King because I like their fries better. I'm going to risk my take on, knowing Brian at Burger King or McDonald's. So like, is your thought process or your advice would be follow where you think you can land the job or follow somewhere that you really want to be?
Oh man, that's a touchy subject because I have a contradictory opinion on that. One is if you have no experience, you may not like that first job.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like the people you work with. It may be toxic and this, that, the third. If you know how to protect your mental health and not take that anger, that frustration, and everything else home with you, so to speak, then for the experience factor, if you know you can get in there, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would take that experience and after 3, 6, 9 months, a year, you apply to the other place because now you have experience and you can get yourself in the door based on your experience and you know you're going to like it more.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is, and this is what I did coming out of the Army, is I started networking with people immediately. So I hadn't even been retired yet, and I started networking with people on LinkedIn. So if you can make those connections, then it gives you more options. But I am, as much as I say avoid toxic environments, and again, this is where it comes in and I contradict myself. I say avoid toxic environments, and if they don't want to hire you because of X, Y, and Z, then fuck them and just walk away. It's not worth it, not to your mental health or anything else. At the same time, if that same type of environment is willing to hire you and you have no experience and or you need to collect a paycheck to keep a roof over your head,
Mm-hmm.
get some thick skin and strong mental health and be willing to get fired if it's going to come down to it. Because more than likely, if it's that toxic, you're going to have to say no to some things. You're going to have to, stand up for yourself. And either you're going to get fired or you're going to end up quitting. But at that point, you should already have another job. But experience is experience.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Take it where you can when you're a junior. And Misha nailed it right here. She emailed the IT team at the hospital because we don't have a pharmacy IT team here or IS team here. Just asking to help on the farm side for IT stuff. It's experience.
Absolutely.
Space Taco says job-related networking is dope. And me and Misha discussed that. IT is IT, man. So any experience is experience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Any experience is experience. That's a good one. Because I always say the same thing, even if, if we're leading towards juniors or entry-level folks, having that like home lab, and I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I think setting up a home lab, setting up your own environment is way more beneficial than just jumping on to Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, these platforms, because not only you get the experience, and I was talking to someone, was it yesterday? Or I don't know, I was talking to someone about this recently, and I've said it before, I've said it a million times, like when you're setting up your own home lab, you're setting it up, right? It's not like you're just clicking download a VPN, open VPN space, VPN, file and connect, and it's doing Diffie-Hellman. It's doing all the VPN stuff, and it's all working and connecting. But what exactly happened? Going back to what I was talking about with the malware, right? So getting the experience on, home labs gives you that like connecting dots. And I said this when I had a friend that passed his CCNP, and he had a CCNP route switch. Now it's enterprise. And I think 2 weeks later, he landed a job at a construction site or a construction company. Like 3 days into the job, he calls me. He goes, "Hey, Pat, what the fuck's an MDF? They're telling me to go change out a switch in the MDF." He has a CCNP, and see, he was using GNS3. He uses EVE-NG, so he never even learned about physically connecting ports, uplinks to switches. And MDF is, your main distribution closet, and that uplinks to what's called an IDF. And the IDFs is where like your distributed switches are, and your access layer switches. So, and then I was like, holy shit. The reason why is because he didn't connect those dots. He was just all virtual, and he can do all the commands like he's a TAC support, at Cisco. But when he was physically in an environment, he was lost. So
but the funny thing is you can actually create an entire network across the globe with GNS3.
Yep.
That is the hilarious part about it. You can have a completely private network with GNS3.
Mm-hmm.
But no, on that note, real quick, there are 73 people watching right now. Well, probably a little less because I'm watching on LinkedIn, and I know Devin is in on YouTube. So if you're here, say hi, make yourself known. OIHEC Hackers on Twitter. I cannot comment back to you through StreamYard, but hey, you are appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. To everybody else, please feel free to drop a hello, say hi, share this, like this, comment, all that fun jazz. I'd love to know what you're watching from too, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, I don't know. Twitter. So I look at these things, and to your point, a lab is a lab, experience is experience. Space Taco said something, and I put it up a little earlier. I'll put it up again. Experience also equals home labs and volunteer experience. Ask the pen test and network for your cousin 3 states away. I don't think she quite understands how vital that actually is. And I'll give a reason behind it.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give my opinion on that.
At a previous job, we had a client that had a remote workforce. They had us not do a pen test on personal networks, but the CEO wanted, I think we had to do a pen test on like the CEO's home network or something like that. I think he wanted one done for his own, wanted to know how well it worked. And I think he had split ISPs also. So there's a difference between his home network and his work network, like how he functioned. I mean, when you make that kind of money, you can do that type of thing. I can't afford another cable line in here to do that. But I think that if you can get a sign off from your cousin, your sister, your whatever, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, whatever the case may be, then yeah. Me personally, I have nothing against port scanning and looking at the services that are open on your parents' router, ISP, whatever that you're pinging. With the caveat being that IP address is going to change, so don't keep going after an IP address. Make sure it's the same one every day that you're going after it.
And I want to add on that. So, like, if you are testing, there's 2 things, right? If you're testing an ISP, your cousins from 3 states away, be careful, because if you're scanning the external and you don't have permission to do that, just because your aunt or your cousin, they don't own that IP. Yep. It's owned by the ISP. So unless they specifically bought that static IP, which a consumer is not going to do that, and then it doesn't really belong to you. So, and the second thing, even if you now with the dynamic IPs, what you can do is set up what's called dynamic DNS. So with dynamic DNS, you can set it up for, if you're IT savvy, you should understand what dynamic DNS is. And when you set up for your, cousin Jimmy, now cousin Jimmy, you can set up no IP, and you can have cousinjimmy.home. Whatever, net.
Whatever.
Yeah. And now anytime if it's changing every week, you're still going to ping, what did I say, home.jimmy.net?
Net. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that DNS name, and then it's going to resolve that. So if you want to learn, obviously you just have to be careful, because if that changes and you're scanning it, then it's my IP. Then what if I have a honeypot? What if I have monitoring and you're like, who the hell is this person? And I'm going to do reconnaissance, and it's a battle. Yeah. So you just have to be careful of who you're scanning, and make sure
it is Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, Uncle
Make
Jimmy.
sure it's little Jimmy. All right, and it's not Stephanie down the block. All right, you don't want Stephanie. Right. Little Jimmy's your cousin. You want to go after little Jimmy, not Stephanie.
Exactly.
Stephanie might get mad
because she's trying to watch her Netflix fucking show. Her I don't know what the hell girls.
Look, just because I crashed your Netflix is not my fault. All right, blame that on your ISP. But the other thing you have to be aware of these days is there's a lot of ISPs with data caps.
Yeah.
And I saw this when I was at Fort Riley. The fastest ISP I could get had either 1 or 2 terabyte data cap. And anything over that, I'd get charged.
Yeah.
While simultaneously, I was doing security research and made a living on the dark web for a while, looking into hacking forums and things like that. And doesn't matter what you do, when you're down there, people can find you if they really want to.
Mm-hmm. And you have an entry node and exit node anytime you're in Tor. So be aware.
Yep. So they somehow, I don't know. I don't know who I made mad. All I know is I did that once, and for the next 6 months, I had to argue with my ISP because all of a sudden I was like a terabyte over what my limit was. But when I went into the logs of like my firewall and everything I had set up, it was network scanning and pings and all this other BS. And I was like, dude, that ain't me. Like, you coming after the wrong person. I was like, can you block all these geo IPs, please? And they were like, no. I'm like, well, then I ain't paying you.
Yeah.
It's an extra $100. Not going to happen.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And especially that happens, I don't play video games, but like I know like in the gaming community, when you're on these sites or on these servers or whatever, and if you fucking, they're all nerds. So if you, fuck with someone, they're going to, do their DDoSing against you. And obviously are your IPs exposed on these games? I have no fucking clue. I don't play video games, but.
Hold up. We got a question for me, so we need to answer right now. Does Devin ever fully smile, or is it like a rare Easter egg in Battlefront?
It's an Easter egg. I sneak them in every now and then. Thanks for the call out.
Look, we're up to 84 people watching live. I'm just saying, throwing that out there. This is the most we've ever had live, and I didn't advertise this episode at all. So
we're
doing good tonight. I'm loving it.
Yeah, they want to see my smile. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what it is, Pat. It's because everybody loves you. But no, I think there's a lot you have to look out for. And so let's take this from the perspective, and Devin brought it up earlier, right? When you're looking at these hacking communities on the dark net and let's be fair, it isn't just the dark net. I think the dark net has more script kiddies and ransomware as a service and like people trying to make money. It's people that aren't scannable on the internet. Yeah. Meaning it's not on the dark net. It's not on Google because they don't have a DNS entry. It's not listed. There's like no valid site. We're talking halftime. It's like, I think nowadays there's still a lot of old school like IRC channels where you have to know the IP. You have to know what you're connecting to. Same with websites. If there's no DNS entry, I can stand up a website, leave my IP externally available, and host a website that'll never make it to Google because I have no host name for you to scan.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I have an IP for you to scan. So if you're using something like Mass Scan or something like that, sure.
Or Shodan. You
Yeah.
can see the
But,
services that are open out there.
but even then, okay. So I think a lot of this is still on. I would venture a guess that a lot of it is still on the clear net. It's just no DNS, IRC backdoors, things like that. I think the dark web, especially with how the federal governments across the globe have started cracking down a lot of the things. As you watch the news, they've gotten away from that, and it's more private communities and private IPs.
Yeah, I think it's like what you're saying, obfuscation by simplification. So you don't have any of the complexity that everybody has now. It's just super simple, and you got to know exactly where you're going. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and again, it's small communities. These services, with the exception of nation-state actors, right? So we look at our 3-letter agencies. You can look at every other country's. I don't know how many letters are in their agencies, but it could be anywhere from 3 to 10, whatever. Those usually have hundreds, if not more. But I think the smaller groups, the ones that truly excel, you're talking 10, 15 people that just know their shit.
But because they don't have the infrastructure like the big governments to keep that stuff in-house. It's got to be you've got to keep it tight-knit because it's so much easier for something to get leaked. I mean, it's still easy for something to get leaked in the government as well, but they're obviously huge and have to be there because they're battling all the other nation-state actors and stuff that's out there. They're all fighting against each other. When you have the small ones, you keep your circle small, keep your circle tight. It eliminates the spread of that information or that getting out.
And I think it allows you to really, I think in those groups, you never really trust anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, sure. Hell no.
Because you're all doing you watch, I watch enough movies and TV growing up, and even now, they talk about the Thieves' Code. The Thieves' Code doesn't exist.
Right.
It's a myth. It's just in movies. Snitches get stitches and or wind up in ditches. I mean, we're in inflation. I can't afford to, send you to a hospital. So ditches it is. I'm just going to dig a hole. But, when you think about it, like, that's the only thing they have, but they'll still sell you. They may not sell you out to law enforcement, but they'll still take your secrets to another group.
Oh, for sure.
If they find a community that's going to pay them more, give them more capabilities of movement, it's just like the corporate world. I think it's just as cutthroat as the corporate world, where if you're going to pay me more of a percentage based on what we're doing, then I'm going to go there. Yep. You're going to give me more ownership of this malware, of this release, I'm going to go there. And I think that's what you're seeing in a lot of these ransomware gangs and things like that aren't APTs, but it's still a community and they still all know each other. And I guarantee they know, at least the heads know each other. And they're just like, I'm going to one up you, homie. I'm going to do more. You know what? Let me hit an entire ring of something. I got you. I'm like, nah, ain't going to happen. And then they do it, right? So I think it's all a game to them these days. I don't think there's any ethics in it anymore.
No. I don't think there ever was any ethics in it. I would say to a certain extent, there was some reasoning behind it other than money. Like back in the days of the Kevin Mitnicks and stuff like that, they were doing it for reasons outside of financial gain and stuff like that. But for the most part, I mean, when you get into the criminal underground and it gets into the ransomware and all this stuff, now they do have some. You do hear about those ransomware groups that they hit a hospital, they don't realize it's a hospital, and as soon as they realize it is a hospital, they give everything back and they don't release the data and stuff like that. So you still have those few out there, but for the most part, like you said, it's cutthroat. It's what can I get? Who can I get the most money out of? That's their end goal.
And I think here's the unfortunate part. Hacktivism at its core has a point.
Mm-hmm.
Nation state actors, there's a point to it. We're in a cyber war. We're going to be for the rest of our lives, right? Yeah. Kind of like a Cold War for the cyberspace. Who can find the most 0 days, not release any of them, and use them against our opponents. But those that are not nation state and those that are not hacktivists, so when you look at your ransomware actors like Lockbit and things like that, that aren't being paid by, a country for a lot of these breaches, I can't fathom the lack of ethics that they have, because it used to be, and again, this is maybe me being naive, but everything I knew about that culture back in the day was we want to hit things, and we want money. That's guaranteed. You're going to want money off of it when you can do ransomware. But it was always targets that made sense, right? Where can I get my money? So we're going to hit big corporate. We're going to hit, big pharma or whatever. Now it's hospitals, colleges, schools, like kids, and with 5 kids myself, you start involving kids in my kids' records, we're going to have an issue. Like, we can have problems. That's my issue.
Yeah, and I think what stemmed a lot of that, where they hit everyone, is the onset of cybersecurity insurance. Because if you look at a lot of these attacks that happen, unless they're like a big casino or something like that, every time they know kind of what they have for insurance or who they have and what kind of the standard is for payout, what they'll pay out, and that's what they ransom for. So say your payouts up to $5 million, that's the amount of coverage you have, you're going to get a ransomware that comes in at 4 million or 4.5, or maybe right at 5. They're going to hit you for that, and that's why ransomware insurance, I think, brought that there. Because back in the day, some companies it may have been like, well, just sell the shit, I don't have the money to pay you.
Yeah.
So all right, I got another question. Which community is stronger?
So I think that comes down to, I think it depends, because you have your broken down different communities inside of each, and you have those people on both sides that will stab you in the back, unfortunately, and that's on both sides. I think honestly, the dark side of things, you're probably going to see those people that will stab you in the back more often, just because they're cutthroat, they're looking to get themselves up. But you also have those people on this side of it too, and that's why I think it's important to make sure you keep those, you pay attention to who's in your corner and what they're doing and how they treat you whenever how they react to your issues and needs, as well as how you react to theirs. So making sure everything aligns, because you can get into the wrong community in cybersecurity and get screwed over. It can happen. Unfortunately, it sucks, but it can happen.
Yeah, you can.
Well, what about you, man? What you think?
No, I agree. I remember, just for an example, let's talk about the YouTube community, right? When I first got into YouTube, and I didn't know what I was doing. It was literally when I was studying Palo Alto at PCNSE with a group of friends, and I said this story a lot of times too. And then my first video was how to implement Palo Alto in VMware. And I remember, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know like what kind of equipment to get, how to edit videos. I still suck at it, but like I didn't know anything about anything, right? I didn't know how to screen record. I didn't know the process. And literally, I would ask, I'm not going to mention names, like some of the big YouTubers, and not one response, right? And I'm like, hey man, just like you're saying in your videos, like if you ever need anything, if you need a holla, and then reach out. And it's not like I just wanted to know give me a list of like, yes, I could have YouTubed it. But to be honest, and I've said this, like before I started my YouTube channel, I never even used YouTube. I never watched a video on YouTube in my life, So that tells you how much I use computers.
You and me both, dude. I literally, I think I saw like 1 or 2 because I would do research for offense. Like when I was studying pen testing and things, that's where I found like a lot of my backtrack videos and Kali. Well, Kali wasn't even out yet. It was backtrack. That's where I did a lot of my research there. But like, unlike my kids who like can show me any TikTok or YouTube video out there, I was kind of like, man, I got TV and I really don't care. But then I started one and I was just kind of like, we're winging it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I did. But as I got, as the channel grew, I think when I hit like 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, I'm like, okay, like this is pretty cool. Like I want to actually like have a little studio or have a better setup, or, because then I started watching YouTube videos. I started watching how other people were doing it, and they had, fancy backdrops and things in the back. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is the trend. I guess this is how it's supposed to be. Like, I didn't know, like, who the hell wants to look at like just a plain old white background? So, and then I reached out to some folks, and the only, I'll admit to the only one that replied to me was Keith Barker. Right. So, and he's from CBT Nuggets, and he was the last person I thought would respond. Right. Because I'm like, this dude is like a fucking idol to me. Right. Like I looked up to him. Like some people look up to you, me, Heath Adams, John Hamm. Like he's still like, I'm his fucking number one fanboy. Like if I learned so much from the guy, and he didn't even know it, because I used to always pirate CBT Nuggets fucking videos. To be honest, I never paid for them. So I even told him, like, dude, like I used to pirate everything from obviously now it's harder because now they don't even let you download shit. But you can use OBS and screen record. But that's besides the point. But yeah, so I reached out to him, and he's like, "Oh, you can use not OBS. There's another one. It starts with a C. I always forget the name of this damn application."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you can use this, that, and the other, and you can just." Now I'm gonna have to find it, but do I have it on this machine? No, I don't. I think it's on my other machine. But he's like, just use this. You can screen record, and you can put your face in the corner, and I was like, all right, cool. This is awesome. And then he told me like what he had. I'm like, fuck, I'm not gonna buy all that. What, to get like 10 views? No way. And he's like, if you want to start out with a webcam, get like a 4K. I got a Brio, and then I got my Rode mic first, and then I got my Blue Yeti, and now I have this, whatever this is, Sherm, whatever the fuck this thing is. But yeah, and then it's just like continue. So going back to the shitty community, right? Like there were shitty people, and the funny thing is, then I started talking to those shitty people, and I told them they're fucking assholes, right? For leaving me on red. And all they do is apologize. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, like, don't say you're going to do something and reach out for help when and then you don't acknowledge it. Then you look like a fucking fraud, So that's just my opinion. So.
Yeah, I've had similar.
There it is. 100 views, 100 viewers.
Holy jeez, we hit 100. Woohoo! I don't know where y'all are tuning in from. So seriously,
looks like a lot from Twitter.
In comments, let me know, because I need to know if it's on YouTube or not. I don't know how many we got on YouTube right now.
It looks
I
like
know only 48 people have seen this on Twitter.
So Twitter is 91 people.
Seriously?
Yeah. You can see, like, if you hover over the 100, you can see like where the views are coming from.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez, we got 91 on Twitter. Ah, nice. Can y'all throw some comments in here, man? Help a brother out. Be all right. But no, it's funny because I've always gone against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So my shows have never been like production quality. I've done some things differently, changed some things as I go to kind of try to not meet the trends, but I know that in certain instances, you have the new short-term memory, short attention span. Like you got to keep triggering the brain. So shorts, things like that. Like I know this happens. So I've changed things, right? With the intro in the beginning, and then a 10-second clip, and then the sound at the end. And, I even was doing shorts for a while and tech videos. But what I find for me is if I have to do all that, then it's not just me. Mm-hmm. You're not here for the knowledge. You're not here for the people that I want to support. You're here to take what I spent hours making, skip through 10 seconds of it, get to just what you need, and leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which does nothing for me, right? I don't get ad revenue. I never have, probably never will, and that's okay. but you're not even helping, right? So like when I look at things like that, I think that's an issue. Like that's where I think our community suffers is we don't support the people doing the job, the ones putting the content out there. Like Pat, if I'm gonna go watch one of your videos, I'm literally gonna watch everything from front to back, right? Yep. Beginning to end. And it's gonna be, even if it's something that I don't, I'm not really engaged with, or maybe I'm working and doing something on the side, I'll at least mute it and let it play. Because then at least I'm helping you out.
And go on that. I just got a message today, or a thing today, because I did the Mr. Robot machine. So this one kid or this one person put a comment, and I had to rewatch that video because I posted it probably 2 years ago. I don't even know. So it's and they're like, "Oh, how did you get this?" And I'm like, "Fuck, did I like miss something?" You know what I mean? And I rewatched it, and I'm guessing he fast forwarded to that spot that he just wanted to try to cheat his way in, but he didn't understand. You didn't watch the last 7 minutes of the video, how I got there, you know, how I was able to, you know, I was hacking a theme, you know, because it was a WordPress. So and then you have to upload a reverse shell, PHP reverse shell when you get into WP-admin. And then it's like, how do you get Elliot? I'm like, go watch fucking Mr. Robot, because Elliot's the main fucking character. You know what I mean? So that's how I got Elliot. I don't fucking know. I just guessed, you know, and literally like I watched my video again. I hate hearing my voice, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. But to go to your point, it's like when you try to skip scenes, like first you're going to miss something. Maybe you're going to miss a key thing, you know. I only skip things when I'm watching like a music video and I only want to hear Eminem, or I only want to hear this person. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about their verse. I want to listen to.
See, what I do it too is like so like these type of lives, I love watching entire interviews, right? For me, I will sit down and listen to an entire interview. I like reaction videos. I even like live reaction videos, right? Because it's on the point. Like I'll watch the whole thing. My problem comes down to when you upload a reaction video to like a song, and the first half hour is not you reacting to that video.
Yeah,
it's you just bullshitting with your audience in chat, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Now I'm skipping. Now I'm going. I'll give it 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, I'm looking for when the music actually starts. I want to hear your reaction to this song. I don't want the half hour leading up to it. Like that's it. But I'll still watch the whole reaction. Like I want to listen to those because I like, especially someone like a Knox Hill or something like that actually raps in real life. I want to hear their lyrical breakdowns of music and things like that.
Yeah, he's good.
Like Knox Hill is one of my favorites because he doesn't break down. I mean, he does break down the messages sometimes, but a lot of what he does is talk about the music itself.
Yeah,
the rhyme schemes, and everything else like that. So yeah, to me, like things like Knox Hill and stuff like that, I love reaction videos to music.
Yeah,
Knox Hill is just one of the ones that breaks down the schemes. I think there's a few others, but he's one of the biggest ones that breaks down the actual rhyming. There's another guy out there too who does it now with his girlfriend that breaks down the rhyming because he's an artist as well. I can't remember his name.
Then you have that big kid, that big fat white guy. Oh, fuck. I'm just gonna put fat white rapper. I forgot his name. Not Jelly Roll. He did the. Let me just do the reaction. Now
Jelly Roll is awesome.
I love Jelly Roll.
If you don't listen to Jelly Roll and Save Me, you're missing out.
Crypt that's the one.
Crypt's good.
Yeah, he's the other one that does reaction, and he's a rapper. So yeah.
Misha, which one you going to? You coming to mine? Tell me you're going to be there this Friday, or next Friday rather. Yes, next Friday I'll be at B-Sides Pittsburgh, so y'all better be there.
Damn,
that better be Misha. Misha better be coming to B-Sides Pittsburgh. That better be what she's talking about.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, yes, I get to meet Misha in person finally. That's what I'm talking about. Natalie Baker said she might be there. A few others. So, yeah, good times. We're gonna celebrate. We're gonna have a good time. And if you drink, I'll get you a few free drink tickets because my old work actually helps set all that up. So I know all the people that run it. So I can get a lot of free drink tickets if they're still doing them. But look, otherwise, we are at 8:05. I got things to do. Y'all got things to do. You got to celebrate the weekend. You got to rest, relax, recharge, all those fun things. So before we sign off, Pat, Devin, final words. Let them go.
Go ahead, Pat. All right. No, I got it. Yeah, I think just going back, just make sure you pay attention to the community that you do align with, or that aligns with you. Find one that aligns with you and what you're trying to do. Give back as much as you take, if not more. I always try to give back more than what I take. I feel like that's the best balance for me. Like Derek was talking about, just because you're you're new to the industry, a noob, that doesn't mean you don't have anything to give back. There's always 10 people behind you that are just now starting. They're days back from you. So just give back. That's the key thing. You're going to have a stronger community when you give back.
And yeah, I agree with that, because when I first started my YouTube channel, just started contributing to the community, I didn't really see it at first. But then when you see that comment like, oh, this has made a tremendous impact in my life, and you don't realize it, you're just doing a video on camera, you're talking to yourself for 10, 15 minutes, but you don't know who's on the other side of the computer that it's affecting, right? It's impacting their lives. So just however you contribute, if it's a Medium, if it's a GitHub, if it's a video, if it's a post, LinkedIn articles, whatever you're going to do, just like you said, it's better to be a giver than a taker, because you're going to always get further in life. Because I'm a prime example of that. I'm pretty decent in the community, and I've gotten so much further than I ever thought, right? Like I'm talking to, next week I'll be talking a B-side in India, right? Like I didn't expect people fucking across the world to know who the hell I was, right? Or like B-sides, other B-side, Romania. I went all the way out there. So it's like, you never know who you're going to connect with, but community is key.
Yeah. And so on that note, right, like everything we do matters. Everything in life matters. Not only, and here's the kicker, right? Just because you may not have the cybersecurity knowledge that you think you should, or that you maybe you don't think you can give anything back in cybersecurity, you still have life experience. I don't care how old you are. You have gone through something that somebody else hasn't. Mm-hmm. Look at all the career transitioners, whether they're coming from pharmacy tech or a barista like Alyssa Miller or anything like that, anything at all. You still have life experience, things that you've done in your life that you can bring back. And so there's always information to be gained from everybody. And you have to understand that. Until you learn that in your life, that you can learn from everybody, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. I learn from everybody that I can. And that is something that we have to do going forward as a community, is reach out, talk to people, network, get out of our bubbles. I get it. A lot of us have a social battery and we can't always do it. I'm right there with you. I feel you. Unless you get me a few drinks deep, I ain't talking to half the people there. Got to give me a few, and then I'll talk to everybody. Without that few, I'm probably not going to talk to a whole lot of people. But just go about it, live your life, and network. That'll be the biggest success in your career, is if you can network with as many people as possible in all different industries. Don't just keep it to cybersecurity, because you may find a doctor, a CEO, of whatever organization, of whatever industry, and now you're looking for a job, and they're like, oh yeah, our IT team's hiring. Mm-hmm. Our whatever's hiring. I'll put in a good word for you. I know you. I know you'll be good for the organization. And so there you go. It doesn't have to be within the industry. Network with everybody. Learn to expand your bubble and get outside of your head, because you can succeed and you will succeed. Why? Because you're all my warriors. You're all my family. I love every single one of you. Please enjoy your weekend. And whenever you're watching this, where you're watching this, like, comment, subscribe. Please donate. Help us out. Let this show grow. And I'll talk to you all next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.